The title of this video may confuse many of you. Self-acceptance in regards to Zoro and Sanji. You might be thinking that with Sanji, the idea of self-acceptance can be seen, but why Zoro? Well, in this video, we will go through that and explain how not only Sanji but Zoro's character also tackles the idea of self-acceptance in its own way, in a unique way. And both of their self-acceptance arcs conclude in the much celebrated, hated, basically controversial Wano country arc. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. Starting with the first mate, Zoro. When One Piece fans think about Zoro, many things come to mind, like how cool he is, how strong, the getting lost gag of his, but above all, the most prevalent quality of Zoro, the single greatest reason Zoro is arguably the second most popular character in the fan base, is loyalty. He is by far regarded as Luffy's most loyal subordinate and one of the most self sacrificing and loyal characters in all of anime. Reason being, Zoro always puts his captain's dream above his own. Pretty much the entire fandom believes that for Zoro, his dream is on a lesser pedestal to his captain's dream. But is that really true? Does Zoro really regard Luffy's dream superior to his own? Well, get ready to be surprised because I personally don't think so. Well, maybe for a time, the idea of Zoro putting his captain's dream above himself, both from a self sacrificing standpoint, and not just that, Zoro would be willing to see his captain succeed more than himself, far more than himself. But after the Wano country arc, I think that has changed. To understand this, we need to understand Zoro and what he has stood for in the story for its majority. When Luffy breaks Zoro out, the condition on which Zoro joins Luffy first is that his own dream of becoming the greatest swordsman cannot be sacrificed at any cost, and not even Luffy or his dream can come in the way of Zoro's goal. But as the story progresses, we clearly see changes. Luffy's impact grows on Zoro, and even in the East Blue Saga, that's shown both through grand declarations like the iconic "I will never lose again," or small things like Zoro not acting on his own in Nami's hometown without Luffy's orders, him following Luffy without any question. All of this grows, but Oda also continuously makes it a point to make Zoro look like the captain material whenever someone encounters the Straw Hat Pirates. Prime example, Rouge and the Supernovas talking about Zoro in Sabaudi Archipelago. So both these ideas are shown of what Zoro is, which is following Luffy with utmost loyalty, and what Zoro probably should be, that is his own boss, which is shown through the reactions of most of the people who see him for the first time. At face value, this constant display of two different ideas of Zoro, one in practice and one in presentation, for most fans contribute to the idea of Zoro being the most loyal character in the series, the most loyal of the Straw Hats. But I personally don't think so. Zoro's character journey here resembles that of Kageyama from Haikyuu, in the idea, at least in concept, that Kageyama was first a king, then let go of it through his actions, and then embraces it later on in the story. It's not exactly the same case with Zoro, because Zoro does show king qualities many times in the series. Prime example, him refusing Usopp joining the crew again without apologizing. But the conclusion does resemble Kageyama embracing his title of the king again. To put this more clearly, Zoro through the pre-time skip keeps developing into the ultimate Luffy subordinate, which all comes full circle with the scene where nothing happened. That entire sequence shows us someone who could have been a king give up that ambition for someone he considers more important. The job of protecting the captain is more important than achieving the title of the greatest swordsman. For pretty much most fans, this seems to be the end of Zoro's development up until now in the story, with everything coming since being just moments that adds to this display of self-sacrifice of not just life but pride as well. But the Zoro versus King fight, and especially Zoro unlocking Color of the Supreme King, changes that. When you look at Conquerors Haki, it's basically the ability to be a king. Well, then why did Rayleigh follow Roger or Ace follow Whitebeard? The audience simply takes it as the same Luffy Zoro loyalty dynamic. But as far as Conqueror Haki is concerned, this shouldn't work on a fundamental level. Conqueror's Haki literally means your own ambition above everyone's. In Ace's case, you could make the argument his literal ambition was to make Whitebeard the king of the pirates, and we don't know much of Rayleigh, so we can't say much. But in the Zoro Luffy case, this dynamic shouldn't work, and in my opinion, it doesn't. Zoro doesn't put Luffy's dream above his own, which Oda clears through the King vs Zoro fight. Earlier in the Onigashima raid, when Zoro goes all out with the Ashura and clearly shows Conquerors Haki he is protecting his captain, which makes it clear again Zoro doesn't hold back as long as his captain is concerned, which makes it clear that Zoro goes completely all out at his full limit when his captain's life is in danger. Against King, Zoro isn't going all out at first. Enma is pushing him, but he is clearly afraid of the repercussions of using that amount of haki. So, how is he able to bypass this? Of course, by going all out, but that's not only because of his captain, which is shown through this panel. In this fight, more of Zoro's flashback is shown about Enma being the king of the underworld, and that cursed swords aren't itself dangerous, but a swordsman's tenacity is the problem. Before the series has honed in the idea that Zoro only goes all out like other Straw Hats when it's for Luffy. This chapter changes that and shows us Zoro's willingness to be king and why he deserves Conqueror's Haki. To rephrase what I said earlier in the video, Conqueror's Haki doesn't necessarily have to mean your dream above everyone else's, it could also have a possibility of two ambitions on the same pedestal. Putting it in Oda's words, after King tells Zoro, "So you intend to be a king too then?" To which Zoro replies, "Yes, I have got a promise to make to my captain and best friend or oldest friend." Translation differs on this. Here Zoro clearly puts Luffy and Kuina on an equal pedestal. Both of these people mean equally as much to him, so shouldn't this new development take Zoro back to being what he was at the start of the series, who is selfish for his own dreams? No, because Zoro's dreams helps Luffy's dreams as well, which is signified through the start of chapter 1036 after showing a flashback of the Baratie of Zoro saying that I will never lose again, and then following that with I shall become the king of hell for Luffy. He has conquered Enma now for himself, which helps Luffy and also his own oath to Kuina stays intact and doesn't come under anyone else's shadow, doesn't come under Luffy's dreams shadow. Zoro accepts that he is meant to be a king and not someone who puts others' ambitions above his own, which now brings us to Sanji. Sanji is worthless, at least that's what he has come to think of himself through his life experiences. Sanji, of all the Straw Hats, as far as characterization is concerned at the time of their introduction, is probably done the best. We see Sanji and his willingness to fight for someone else's treasure, in this case being Zeph's restaurant, the debt that he has to pay to Zeph, which partly contributes to him not pursuing his own dream. The other thing that stops him to pursue his dream of the all blue is the simple question: is it worth throwing one's life away? Which, of course, through Zoro's display against Mihawk, he is convinced otherwise. That maybe it is worth to throw one's life away, to risk one's life for a dream, for an ambition. But Sanji still has self worth problems. Even when we look at Sanji's flashback in Whole Cake Island, he does openly say he wants to be a cook, so he does consider himself worthy enough to dream, and through his actions in Baratier, consider his life worthy enough to consider before going after a dream that's dangerous. That's a fantasy that probably, possibly could not exist, and maybe he might just be wasting his time on it. Is the dream of all blue really worth betting his life on? What he doesn't consider himself worthy for is asking help, and also what he doesn't want to accept as a part of himself are his Germa family relations. Both of these get a payoff in Wano as well. Sanji, throughout the entirety of One Piece, has never asked for help. He has maybe accidentally been given help, but he is most of the time on the giving side of kindness, whether that's helping Vivi or always standing by his crewmates, his captain, Violet in Dressrosa, showing his kindness to Pudding. It's always him being the kind one, never expecting anything in return. Because his family history, the trauma has left a mark on him that he is a failure. His experience with his family, his kindness, which is highlighted throughout the story, is cursed in the Germa family. That is why he hates anything to do with his biological father and his bloodlines. But Sanji in Wano comes to accept these two parts of himself, that he is worthy to ask someone else to put their life in danger for him, and he also has to accept his Germa part. Going through his backstory in Whole Cake Island, there isn't a single quality of Sanji that we like that Germa doesn't make a point of hating. So it's impossible to even remotely expect Sanji to accept any relation with Germa until, of course, the condition is helping someone for Sanji. and not just anyone, but Luffy. Even after hurting a woman, considering that's what Sanji thought he had done at first against when he was fighting Queen, he is willing to go that far for his captain. The kindest character of the Straw Hats, arguably doing the most selfless thing he could do, risking to abandon all the qualities Luffy considers great, his captain considers great, risking losing them all to help his captain. If him being emotionless is what helps his captain, then so be it. Whole Cake Island, which was all about Sanji not being a failure because of the qualities he has, he is ready to abandon those qualities and accept the side he hates, he despises for Luffy's ambition. So he accepts the Germa part of himself. But of course, it doesn't just end there. Earlier in the raid, because of what Whole Cake Island did to Sanji's character, because of what Luffy said to him, I can't become the king of the pirates without you. I won't be able to accomplish my goal without your help. Whole Cake Island is also the arc Sanji for the first time wholeheartedly speaks his heart out, where he learns his own value, his true value. Sanji asks help of Robin. Robin, whose treasure being her smile, whose treasure is being safe while pursuing her dreams, as she never had any camaraderie or safety while chasing her dreams her entire life. Sanji, who protects other people's treasures, is willing to one trust and expect help from someone whose treasure is the sense of safety they feel, which might suffer from this request. He is willing to make that request to cry out for help. Oda making a bold statement by making Sanji ask help of Robin, who has never been trusted in her life, to one show Sanji gaining a sense of self worth and Robin achieving people's trust, which all just comes around beautifully, amazingly well. By the way, there is a Robin video too on self acceptance, so check that out if you like this one. So that's all for this one. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope I will see you next time. And I hope this video was enjoyable enough for you and all my rambling made any sense. And again, I'm saying this, if you want me to read anything, if there are any recommendations you might have for me, feel free to recommend me any stuff. I am really, really open to recommendations.